Ready for another day? Got the paparazzi out. What's up, Big D? What's going on? Give us a love. Give us a love, D. Give us a love. Give us a love, D. You ready, man?
We're going now.
You still taking speeches now?
They're on, sir. We're back. I mean, it was a trip to Stockholm.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched
welcome you to today's event. Thank you to Staff Sergeant Jill Diem from the United States Air Force and Europe Band for the excellent rendition of the American and German national anthems. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to introduce our distinguished guest, our host for today's ceremony, Vice Commander, United States Air Forces in Europe, Air Forces Africa, Lieutenant General Tom Jones. Our guest speaker, Command Chief, 3rd Air Force and 17th Expeditionary Air Force, Chief Master Sergeant Khalif Wright, and his wife, Tanya. Non-Commissioned Officer Academy, Chief Master Sergeant Amber Mitchell. We also want to recognize all commanders, Chief Master Sergeants, First Sergeants, supervisors, mentors, and friends of our graduates who have extended their support throughout the course. Thank you for attending this special event and showing your support for our graduates. To the individuals whose support cannot truly be measured. It is the sacrifice associated with mission requirements, commitments such as TDYs, deployments, PCS moves, as well as other issues uncommon to those not familiar with the profession of arms that you have also supported. Your support has calculated these NCOs to arrive at this moment in their career. Will the spouses, significant others, and family members of our graduates please stand and be recognized? Celebrate the successful completion of the Non-Commissioned Officer Academy of the course and the distinguished significance of major career milestones by all 171 students of Class 15-4. This ceremony is a proud part of our profession of arms. Enlisted leaders challenge, train, mentor, and guide the future of our great Air Force, our airmen. The student class leader, all flight leaders, and all reveille and retreat ceremony key players are recognized as the student leadership that led throughout the class with the robes they are wearing. Our class leader is distinguished by his red robe. Our 12 flight leaders are distinguished by their yellow robes. And our reveille and retreat key players are distinguished by their black robes. The legacy of Class 15-4 is one of action, compassion, and kindness. Class 15-4 made a huge difference in the Kaiser military community. During the month of the military child, the class helped set up and tear down an event that provided activities for 800 military families. The class traveled to the Child Development Center on Ramstein Air Base to give the ground some much-needed care. This was only the beginning for Class 15-4. They were able to mentor at Airman Leadership School and lend a hand at the Vogelway Club 7. The class spent time beautifying the community by picking up trash throughout the local installations. Also, the class traveled to the Wounded Warrior Center where they prepared food and served 26 wounded warriors. Then they assisted the Contingency Aero Medical Staging Facility with transporting wounded warriors to alternate locations for care. Lastly, they raised $940 for the Airman First Class Michael Hall Memorial Fund to help and support his family during that difficult time. Through these projects, Class 15-4 participated in over 350 hours of community service. Class 15-4 has left a lasting impression and will be remembered as a class that showed all of us how to give back to those in need. Your hard work, commitment, and sacrifice truly simplify one family. Thank you, Class 15-4. Students of Class 15-4, congratulations. You've risen to the challenges placed in front of you and you have succeeded. The ceremony, the reason we're all here today, is to salute you. We sincerely hope that your NCO Academy experience will always be an experience you will remember. At this time, It is with great honor that we introduce our guest speaker for this afternoon. Chief Wright is a Command Chief Master Sergeant for the 3rd Air Force and the 17th Expeditionary Air Force at Ramstein Air Base, Germany. He advises the commander on the proper planning, deployment, sustainment, and redeployment of Air Force forces in support of both the United States European and United States Africa commands during contingency and wartime operations. As a senior enlisted advisor for the only component numbered Air Force in your safety, Chief Wright provides guidance on both operational and combat support issues affecting over 34,000 personnel across 10 wings and 2 continents. It's my distinct pleasure to introduce Chief Master Sergeant Khalif Wright.
All right, good afternoon. So first I'd like to welcome and thank General Jones for all of the tremendous support of the NCO Academy program. Chief Mitchell for giving me this opportunity to come and speak to the graduates. I'd also like to thank and welcome, I see we have some wing commanders from the 721st and from me, from the 435th, as well as their respective chiefs, Chief Simmons and Chief Parker, who's filling in. It's great to see you. I didn't see General Forte. Thank you and welcome to all the friends, family, co-workers. Really, none of this would be possible without the support that you provide for the students as well. But I'd be remiss if I didn't thank my wife, Tanya. She's actually the reason that I'm up here today. So I was pretty nervous about this speech, right? I've given a lot of speeches in the past, but for whatever reason, this one made me relatively nervous. So last night, as I'm putting the final touches on my speech, you know, I'm panicking. I'm in like a panic mode. Like, what if they don't like me? What if they don't hear it? These are tech sergeants, playing, you know, I was just going on and on and on and on. And finally, she grabbed me by my shoulders and said, "Listen, baby, there is nothing to worry about." I said, "Okay, I'm kind of." She said, "As a matter of fact, in life, there are really only 2 things to worry about. Either you're healthy or you're sick. If you're healthy, there's nothing to worry about. If you're sick, there's only 2 things to worry about. Either you live or you die. If you live, there's nothing to worry about. If you die, there's 2 things to worry about." Now I'm like, okay, come on. Either you go to heaven or you go to hell. If you go to heaven, don't worry about it. And then she said, if you go to hell, you'll be so busy shaking hands with all your chief buddies, you won't have time. But in all honesty, you know, I am worried. I'm worried about whether this investment that we've just made in your education, in your development, in your leadership is really worthwhile. And how will we get our return on this investment? We're talking about roughly $7.7 million investment per year, just in youth safety alone, for professional military education. And sometimes we don't always think in these terms, but if you think about, we run about 964 students a year through this academy. If you think about the salary that we would pay them for a 6-week period, which is about how long the class is, that's about $5.1 million. You think about all the airfare, lodging, travel, the salary that we pay Chief Mitchell's staff in 1 year. That adds up to about $7.7 million. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money that we've invested in you. If we had that $7.7 million back, General Jones could fund the #1 he could purchase the #1 unfunded requirement for USAFE Africa, for 3rd Air Force, 17th Expeditionary Air Force, and for every single wing in this command. But he chose to invest in me. So guess what? You got to pay the piper. You got to get a return on this investment. How? I talked to you about this the other day when I came by. How we get this return is you have to consider the development of your subordinates as a primary responsibility. And there's 3 specific areas I would really ask that you look at. As you go back out into your work centers and you figure out, okay, how can I return this investment? How can I make sure USAFE gets a return on this investment? 3 things. Number 1, I want you to set high standards for your subordinates and insist they measure up. Set high standards and insist they measure up. Number 2, you got to model the behavior that you expect from them. And number 3, you got to continue to invest in your own leadership development. Focus on those things. I think we'll get a healthy return. First thing, set high standards for your subordinates and insist they measure. And so it's relatively easy to set high standards for those tangible things. You have to do this many widgets, you have to be in on this time, come early, so on and so forth. You have to order this many parts, you have to order it to this. That's easy. What about the intangible things? Character, attitude, discipline, effort, teamwork. You have to set the bar high. General Jones and I just came from our annual sapper training, the new sapper training Air Force has rolled out, that I'm sure many of you have went to. And so things like this, when it comes to character, respect, these are big issues for our airmen. And the bar needs to be set high. And then you have to insist that they measure up. You have to motivate them. You have to encourage them. You have to inspire them to make sure that they reach these standards that you set forth. John Buchanan, who's the coach of the most successful cricket team ever in Australia, he always says, if better is possible, good is never enough. You got to inspire them to reach these high goals. So when I was a young airman, all the things that I just talked about, character, attitude, discipline, effort, teamwork, I had none of them. I was a menace to society. I would not have lasted in today's Air Force with force management. But you know what I had? I had Tech Sergeant Joe Limbush. Just like you, he had graduated from the NCO Academy. He had very high standards for how I should conduct myself. He had very high standards for how I should dress, how I should speak, how I should walk. And he chewed my chops every time I got out of line. And you can ask my wife, he does the same thing today. Now retired Master Sergeant Joe Limbush. But it was a tech sergeant that changed my life. And you have the opportunity to change the lives of a lot of your young airmen. But not only did he set these high standards for me, insisted I measure up, he lived it. All the things he asked me to do, he far exceeded those standards. And so the second thing I think you need to do is you have to model the behavior that you expect from them. You see, you can't kindle a fire in someone else's heart until you first have one burning within your own. You know how our airmen are today, right? You think they're this new generation, blah, blah, blah. They may doubt what you say, but guess what? They believe what you do. So you got to lead from the front. If you're familiar with John Maxwell's 21 irrefutable laws of leadership, the law of the picture, people do what people see. It's a tough challenge. And they have to be able to hold you accountable to maintaining, upholding these same standards. My PCS from Pope Air Force Base, 2007, as a senior master sergeant with a non-senior rater EPR and no decoration. And yes, I was eligible. So when I got to Osan Air Base, guess what? I had about 17 years in. I had a really bad attitude. Bad. I was not modeling the behavior that I expected from the people that work for me. So Senior Airman Damon Stokes walks into my office and he says to me, "You know what, Sarge? You're a hypocrite." I said, "Okay, Airman Stokes, what exactly do you mean?" "So you're always telling us, deal with adversity, hold your head high, persevere, deal with your problems head on. And now the minute I see you going through something, you quit on us and you got a bad attitude." He was telling me, you are not modeling behavior that you expect from all of us. And you know what I said to him? He didn't get out of my office. Then I went home that night and said, "Man, this dude is right. He didn't do it right." So I turned my act around. I got my stuff together. I changed my attitude. Damon Stokes is another reason that I'm able to stand before you today, because he held me accountable for modeling that behavior. You see, example is not the main thing when it comes to being a leader, being influential. It's the only thing. The last thing that I would ask you to do is don't let this be the end of your leadership journey. So this is great. This is a great course. There's a lot of great information. I'm sure you learned a lot. But you got to continue to invest in your own future. Thomas Watson, he's a former CEO of IBM, once noted that nothing so convincingly proves a man's ability to lead others than what he does from day to day to lead himself. You have to continue this journey. You have to continue to learn. You have to continue to grow as a leader. You have to become a student of leadership. And I got it. We're busy. Everybody's busy. But how can you invest in your airmen if you don't invest in yourself? How can you fill their cup if yours is empty? What I hear all the time is, "Hey, we're too busy. We got this mission. The Air Force is smallest that it's ever been." Again, I got it.